Welcome back to Coming In Hot. We are talking today about everything that's happening in Los Angeles. I'm sure you guys have seen and heard. Yes, John is here too. He's my backup information.
Fact check.
He's the fact check. But this past week has been devastating in Los Angeles. I think you guys have all seen it, heard about it, and I don't think you really understand unless you're here, because it was so much, I think, bigger and wider than people really imagine. Because I think people are like, oh, it's just a fire, what's the big deal? But when you realize it's larger than Manhattan, that literally it's all been burned down, it's been really just bizarre and eye-opening. And we've been seeing all this feedback on the support here and maybe not at North Carolina, which I thought was really interesting, all this kind of backlash, and then people going on and on about LA and that it's all celebrities and it's all rich people. So I thought all these different dynamics about what was being said and done in a moment of such crisis and a natural disaster, that I thought we should talk about it, tell you really what went on, what we saw, what we experienced, and kind of, I think the best part of LA is seeing everyone come together. So I just kind of wanted to give you guys that overlook, because I want to remind people that it isn't all celebrities here. I know it might seem that way. I know it seems like the glitz and the glamour, but there's a lot of hardworking people behind all the glitz and the glamour. And there's a lot of small businesses and people coming here to try to find their dreams and live out their dreams. There's also generations after generations, a lot of elderly people that this was their life savings. They're enjoying their end of life and they've lost it all. There was hardworking people, bottom line. So when everyone's saying it's celebrities and all that, when you live here, yes, there's a lot of celebrities, there's a lot of money, and people can say, oh, just go buy another house, go do this, go do that. That's all fine and good. But John can talk a little bit about what's happening here with insurance, and a lot of people don't have it, and a lot of people have invested everything they have and have lost it all. But what's been so nice is seeing how we've all come together. I've never seen so many volunteers, so many donations, so many people come together to help from all walks of life, whether you were a celebrity or one of the farmers working or people that flew in to help us. Everyone has pitched in, and it's been incredible to see. But anyway, over a week ago,
we knew that the winds were going to come in and be really strong.
Oh,
and
the Santa Ana winds.
The Santa Ana winds, if people haven't experienced strong winds before, it's crazy. And if these were going to be stronger than what we've ever experienced, we go out and look and like, are my trees going to fall over? Seriously.
Oh my God,
it was like that hard.
It was like hurricane level winds. Like I've been through a hurricane in Miami, and it is terrifying when the windows are just like slamming against each other. This wasn't that level, but when I say, I think I screamed twice.
But you move things because your fear of it blowing through windows. So there is a preparation you do for it when you know that they're coming, right? And especially at this strong. So, and then you also know that the fire dangers, because when the wind's blowing so strong and it catches an ember and blows it, things will spread so fast. And we just know that, just living in California, experiencing these winds. And the air is so dry.
Did we ever experience winds this strong, though? I don't
Not
recall.
Not this strong. No, this is the hardest.
The dogs blew away. Like, I've never seen anything like, I swear to God, I went outside, and they're both, poor things are trying to take a poop. And seriously, Roxy blew over. Like, she literally, it's like a gust of wind came.
Oh, yeah.
And it was terrifying. And then John texts me. John was at the UCLA Michigan game, so he was fine. We're in basically the middle of a national crisis, but he's at a Michigan game.
Go Blue.
So he texts me, Sawyer was still at practice. Like, these winds are picking up. I think we heard that a fire started. Mm-hmm. Something had started. Yeah. And I was kind of like, wait, well, how is Sawyer still playing soccer? Because like the winds were insane. Then he comes home. John's texting me, look out the window. What fell in front of our door? It was like a tree fell.
Yeah, all the
palm fronds?
The palm trees, if they're not, and palm trees light on fire. And the worst thing about that is it goes up a tree that's so tall, but when that burns, the embers blow. And so for me, it was always fearful because we have palm trees that are in the neighboring yard, and they didn't trim their palm tree. And if you don't, these big, huge palm fronds that are dry fall on cars. They hadn't trimmed it in a while, and it blew this whole chunk.
No, you literally can't get out. Like, you can't get out of the door.
No, you couldn't walk blocked in.
Like, there was like, it was crazy. And I'm like, wait, what? So then Sawyer arrives, John's coming home, and literally I'm watching out through the window to watch him, and you see the wind blowing. He's getting out of the car. He opens the door. He sees the mess there. And I'm like, just go around. All of a sudden, I think a 75-mile gust wind hit, and a palm frond hit Sawyer in the head. I scream, I go running down, but it was one of those, it's like just so unexpected. You didn't really realize how crazy strong they were. So as soon as we realized the winds were that strong, you were like, this definitely seems dangerous because California is very dry.
Right.
And
this is where we already knew that the Palisades fire was going on and the one in Altadena. And with those winds, you can't stop it.
Well, and you see some of the footage that now I watch, and people see it, and it does seem far away. Like people were saying, they were like, you see the fight, you see the planes coming, you see the water dropping. They were kind of like, they've got this. You don't really think that could possibly go that fast and seriously get into a town and a neighborhood.
Yeah.
We see the mountains, we see brush. We know that can happen. But to see an entire neighborhood taken down. So when you look at it like an aerial view, it is literally like an entire state was just wiped out and it's just ash. It's really pretty crazy. So from that huge Palisades fire, that starts blowing, the winds, it starts getting out of control. All of a sudden, it's now hitting neighborhoods. People are evacuating like emergency. I have a friend who literally jumped out of her car and started running because the car in front of her lit on fire. Her kid was at school. Her entire business burnt down. Her house burnt down. It's one of those things that I know a lot of people that left thinking we'll be back. Like no one thought. And I think in those emergency situations, me and John were even like, what do you take? Like, what do you do? It was that kind of crazy and unexpected that I think, why did it move so fast? Was it just the wind?
No, the winds.
It
was all the winds. And how it started, and there's
what are they
theories
saying?
of arson or electrical. And the electrical wires with wind that strong, who knows? Something hits, sparks. I mean, we had a fire at our house a couple of years ago, and it was scary. And it was because I had a little ember of something in a planter.
John was trying to relax and basically ended up giving himself a heart attack.
Yeah, I woke up at midnight.
Sawyer.
Woke me up.
To be honest.
Okay, so I'm on the couch and Sawyer comes down the stairs and he's like, "Dad." I'm like,
I smell smoke.
Oh, fuck. I knew exactly what had happened. I look out the window and it's against my kitchen outside. I had these two planters. They're wood planters with really organic dirt, and it's old. I had put out something in there, not in water, and it was at 8 p.m. And this is now midnight. And
you can all just assume whatever you want to assume.
Yeah, the flames was big. And I get the fire extinguisher. I knew where that was.
Thank
was
God.
slight panic,
you need to know where that is.
I went outside,
I wouldn't have known.
Blew it down and put the fire out. Meanwhile, the planters are ash, so this thing's been burning for a while. A couch that is like
outdoor
furniture couch
on fire.
Was completely melted in just the wire frame. The window was
black,
smoke all up the wall, and this is where like the bedroom is upstairs right there that Caroline was in, and then our kitchen window.
I was like,
So I look at the video footage of this. It started smoldering. It was 8 o'clock when it did it. Mm-hmm. 10 p.m. is when it started smoking, and then lit up over, and it started fire going, and it didn't really get going until about 11:30. And
like you could see flames outside.
Were huge. I'm surprised nobody called the fire department because seriously, the flames were that big.
Cracked the window.
It cracked, the window. I had to get all that replaced.
But it was terrifying. I mean, Sawyer came running up and he was like, "Mom, there's a fire." And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Holy shit." So we come, I mean, it was terrifying. And I can't even imagine what this was like.
Right. So what that makes me understand, and I grew up in the woods in Michigan with fire. Like I know how it kind of can move and react and how unpredictable it can be.
Mm-hmm. I grew up in New York City, so I absolutely do not.
Yeah, and so this is where a little ember can spark later on. And so that was just like getting the house prepared of moving everything away from the property, making sure things are wet and making sure everything is where an ember won't sit and smolder for hours. So that's what I was doing and trying to figure out what do we do to protect the house.
Yeah. He was on the roof. So as we see the fires trying to kind of getting closer, obviously the two fires are just growing, expanding. I mean, the firefighters, it's like planes everywhere. People are running for their lives, trying to save pets. People lost their pets, lost people in the homes. I mean, it is total devastation. And you're watching it on TV. We all downloaded this app. We're all like glued to this watch. And honestly, it was mind-blowing. We were all at home. You feel helpless. You want to protect your own home and your own things. You also want to help as much as possible. So what happened was it's all, burning down. It was not in our area necessarily close to us.
It was like 8 miles away in one direction to 20 miles to Altadena in the other direction.
And then that night from the first night, my niece calls, remember? Because that was like kind of still that first night that we were like, are we in trouble? Like I was like, should we be nervous? And John was like, no, I think we're okay. And then my niece called. And it was like 11:30 at night. And she was like, hey, we're getting evacuated. She ends up having a cat. She found a hotel that was pet friendly. So she's like, it's just easier, closer. But that's when it was like, wait, people are evacuating. I was like, that was the
Altadena one.
Yes,
and
that
because the winds were blowing into south
town,
to Pasadena, for us, the Palisades one, it was blowing in toward the ocean. So it wasn't going to come toward us. But there was a fire that was 1.5 miles north of us in the Sepulveda Basin. And this is just a big area there's a little lake there. It's all forest and brush. And there's fires that start there a lot, but with the winds, it could jump over the 101 and come to us. But they attacked that one pretty big because that would get into Encino. And then that you'd take out the valley.
That's where you're looking at it. And it's like it for 1 second made you think, some of these people were sitting in their home and looking at it that far away, and it did destroy their house. So you were kind of like, could it really reach all the way here? And it's like, you don't think so, but you really just don't know.
You just never know.
You never know.
But the one 1.5 miles away and you smell the smoke, but fortunately that was put out quickly.
Yeah.
But then it's just watching all these others, and you start seeing with the wind direction, and so glued to the news, because you have to see what's on. They're doing it 24/7 on every network.
Now we start realizing, though, there's more fires starting, and now you're seeing news reports of arson. Like now you're seeing people just starting fires in random locations, right? We've seen people literally lit.
Some of the crazy. Somebody lighting the entrance ramp 1 mile from us on fire, trying to.
Twice.
And then somebody squirted blood on a passerby and smearing it on a building. That's within a 1/2 mile of our house. The people get crazy. It's just terrifying to see all these things with the break-ins. And I think the biggest thing is the break-ins, because people evacuate. And
that was that's something that people don't understand here is like, we already have an issue with crime.
And we already had people try to break in.
We already had, we're honestly constantly on edge. We've experienced it. It was terrifying. And it is something that in that area, that it's happening. But now with this crisis that everyone's evacuating, you start seeing constant robberies and burglaries, people trying to get in. Our area started to get hit. And luckily they called in police, and the National Guard ended up being called in because it was becoming overwhelming. And I think we had to have the fire teams from Mexico come in, from South Africa come in, right? Yeah. Canada came in. So it was like we needed that much help. It was that big. It was that overwhelming, and people were taking advantage. People were dressing as firemen.
Yeah, well, it's having people who take advantage of the situation, which is disgusting. And we got a new district attorney that's really good. They're going to push hard against these people. And supposedly when they did a lockdown of the Palisades, they were checking IDs and making sure you lived there. And then they'd ask, okay, what's your address? And if they didn't know, they turned away 25 cars that were trying to get into the area that didn't know their address. They weren't from there. It's crazy to see how many people are trying to take advantage. But our area is constantly hit by crime. Mm-hmm. They come in, break your glass, and then they run in, ransack the place. So that is one of my biggest fears in this whole thing was our house. Why would I leave our house? And then we got the evacuation warning. We were under warning, but Encino, in the area we lived, went under. There was go. You had to leave.
Some of it was a go.
Some of it. And our area was the next that would be if the fire moved toward our house. And fortunately, the winds were still blowing in the good direction, but it was scary. So Friday, we start seeing the fire move up, and
you see the smoke.
And there's a big balcony, area between the Palisades of just mountains that it has to go through, and it's got to burn a lot of areas up and down hills. But once it hits Mulholland, the peak, and it comes over, that was the biggest fear.
And it got to Mulholland.
And it got close. No, and this is where the firefighters set a really line. And so you're just sitting there praying
we
that
were
it
literally
holds.
just watching and watching if it would hold.
But before they got that line set, it's Friday night. Like, we're going, okay, do we leave? And people are leaving around us.
All the neighbors were leaving.
Yeah.
Sawyer, I have to say, Sawyer was definitely nervous. Finn was perfectly fine and was literally like, what do you want me to take? I'm going to take my most expensive hoodies and I'm done. And I was like, Finn,
and your
get it
mom
together.
went to bed.
My mom went to sleep. She packed her favorite things and was like, whatever happens, happens. Sawyer, actually, it's funny, his age, he definitely was nervous. He definitely was scared. He definitely kept coming to my room. He's obsessed with the watch app. He was like asking John. He kept wanting, it was kind of cute. He wanted to like protect.
Yeah, so he was scared, but it was because he didn't know. And I think the biggest thing is, and what we did is I took him up on the roof. I talked to him. I showed him why you shouldn't be too worried. Really, and for us, or just being very logical about it and explaining to it, because he'd build things up in his head and it's on misinformation, it's on things he thinks happens, but giving him the facts and explaining. And then he saw it more, okay, now I understand it, I'm not as scared.
Yeah,
and
he could watch it.
Right.
He understood what the information
but
was.
With him, it was understanding, why are you scared? And talking to him about it and letting him explain it. And he did. And I'm like, okay, well, what about this? And then countering with, well, here's how it would really happen, and helping him then really figure it out. And he did, and he internalized it, he learned it more. And then he's sending me messages like, hey, how are the fires now? How are the winds? How are this? And I'm like, okay. And he wanted to go up on the roof and sit and watch. And
he did. He was like very involved. And then he was like, Mom, can you help me pack? It was so cute. You could tell that he wanted to feel that security.
Okay, so we're getting things ready.
You have to admit, John, give me credit where credit's due. How calm was I through this entire thing?
Oh, yeah. You were.
Come on.
We were all pretty calm. Like, this was it's like, okay, it's a house, right? And if things happen, I'm going to do whatever to protect it. I'll spray it down and I don't think it's going to get there. But I didn't have my clothes packed up or anything. I got together all the paperwork that we needed, like birth certificates, passports, things like that just take forever to replace.
Yep.
And you were really calm. You had only one little suitcase packed. I'm like, oh.
Just like grabbed like the gifted rack. I literally just grabbed a couple of things, threw it in the suitcase. And then I just grabbed literally jewelry because I knew, number one, it's my favorite. And I could always resell it. And then and then obviously designer or my most expensive bags that I, again, could sell if I needed the money. That was more of like, what could I resell that could make us money if we needed it?
Right.
The clothes and the thing, I was like, oh, it's like I wasn't as, and I don't want to make it seem nonchalant, like it's not a big deal to lose your house, or it's not a big deal, like, oh, we have so much, we can just replace it all. No. But it was really the thought that, again, me and John always, now really try to take it as your life's a special occasion. Like, we use it all, we enjoy it all, and if we lose it, we'll figure it out again.
I also know that I do our insurance. So I had checked our insurance, and we do have fire insurance. I was looking at the renewal of it, which is the beginning of February, and I was looking at the rate, and I'm like, oh, price of insurance doubled. And this was set before all this happened, so I don't even want to know what's going to happen later on. But what was interesting is they called, and we have Liberty Mutual Insurance, and they called me and said, we'll have people come and protect your house. Like, they'll do things to set up your house with sprinklers or wherever to protect the property, which is amazing. And I think that's what we're going to start seeing more of, because it will work and they're going to figure some things out.
So that night we did, we just told the kids, once we got the text, we just told the kids, hey, pack up a small suitcase. Just God forbid we have to be out for 3 or 4 days, or whatever happens. So we all packed like a carry-on suitcase with enough clothes for 4 to 5 days. I packed John got all the most important papers. I got the jewelry in the bags. I also wanted him to get the photos, if we had any baby photos, things like that. And that was it. That was all we were taking. Obviously, the dogs were packed. Teresa was packed. And we were ready to go. And at that point, we were kind of just sitting still. We were just watching. A lot of neighbors are leaving. You're definitely feeling a little bit of the panic of, like, when you're watching everyone leaving, you're like, shit, should we leave? But if John panics and we have to leave, then yeah. So I kind of felt calm. I knew we'd be okay. And if we had to leave, we had to leave. We knew where we could go. Thank God we have our in-laws or our best friends. So we knew we had somewhere to go. And we knew we were kind of ready. So John was up. Were you up every hour?
So I stayed on the couch, and I had my alarm set for every hour, just in case I fell asleep And I was watching the news, trying to see what was going on. I put on, because I tried to watch a YouTube live because none of the stations were airing during that time. Watch app wasn't getting updated. And I'm like, fuckers, like, you've got this fire that's going to come over the hill. I have no idea what's going on. So I had to get up every hour, go up onto the roof. But I was watching a YouTube that says live, and I thought it was a live stream, and it wasn't. And I'm like, fuck, like, I'm getting old news. Like, this is how dangerous that could be when it says live. So I would get up and go up on the roof. And then I can't go back to sleep, made a pot of coffee, drank the whole pot of coffee, I think, before. God. But it was up and down, going up on the roof, coming back down.
What were you seeing?
And I was just seeing
when you see the glow
and
the glow and
the
like
fire,
the big
and then,
puff of smoke is definitely scary.
And you see all the helicopters just continue to go and drop. And
the firefighters
are
heroes.
Yeah.
They really are. You see...
Well, them being able to have all of the helicopters dropping the water. I mean, they couldn't when the winds were so strong. They just can't fly at that. So
and that's what was so dangerous about that evening, too, was that it was so windy. Because people were asking, like, why weren't they throwing, was it fire retardant? And water, they were saying, oh, it was too windy. It was like hurricane winds.
Yeah,
they couldn't fly over. They couldn't see. So it's like they couldn't stop the fire.
Right.
And so it went crazy.
That's why it was. But for that Friday night, they were able to fly.
It was cool to see. They were incredible.
And like, the tankers and then the big planes doing the retardant.
I appreciate also... all the police, all the security, honestly, all the National Guard, protecting the homes and the areas. They really have been so helpful. It does. It makes you feel safer.
And the police we had to walk into our neighborhood.
Right, they weren't allowing us
they weren't
us
letting
in.
people back in with cars if you didn't live there, or they didn't even want you. If you left, you couldn't come back in. You could walk. And so I just took the boys and walked, and we got McDonald's and asked them hey, do you guys want anything? Everyone came together and was offering help for the police and the firefighters. And I do like the positivity versus always we hear about the negativity.
I would say all you ever hear is that they hate the police.
Right.
They hate everybody, and it's
defund
funny
the police,
when you
all these things,
defund the police and do this, and it's like then when you see something like this and you realize what they do and the talent and the risk and the commitment. You're watching them, you're like, no one else is running straight into the fire to save. I mean, you saw some of them really helping people save their pets, their photos. I think that was nice to see. I think people appreciate the work they do and how lucky we are to have them. And I thought that was really nice to see. And also LA just coming together. I never seen so many people. I had 100 texts immediately of my friends lost this person lost this, like, where can we get clothes, who's willing to donate. I have the craziest tech chain right now that I'm working with brands that have some of the biggest celebrities on this text chain.
Oh yeah.
John's like, who just texted? And I'm like, you have no idea. We're all just trying to help each other and figure out where to donate, what to do, because we are working with brands who are donating, and that's been amazing to see. Also is the amount of brands that have stepped forward. And I know we all want to poo-poo the brands, poo-poo the shopping, the overspending, and the da-da-da. I get it. But I have to say, I have never been more impressed with how many brands reached out to me. What can we do? How can we help? 100% of the donations. 2 brands are sending 500 pieces of clothing, free. Free People's doing pop-ups. J. Crew's doing a pop-up, all free. Like, Allison Olivia, like, literally you can come in and grab whatever you want. Then you have people whose businesses, restaurants, and the A-list, Ashley is amazing, who opened up their offices and have created literally a store so that you can feel like a human being. Because as we see, I know a lot of people, something that we discuss a lot is, that shame that you might feel of being in your clothes that you haven't changed out of or whatever, feeling that you've lost everything, and what that can do to you mentally, to think that you have nothing, and it makes you feel insecure, and it makes you feel like, that you're not enough. And I think that has been something so amazing to see, people setting up locations that make you feel proud to be there, to be able to come and shop. It's brand new clothes, and that you can feel human again. You can feel like yourself again, about getting people back on track.
I do want to comment on your followers, your community, because the outpouring of messages and people who care, and we can talk about the positive, but then also some of the negative, because I think that is good to highlight. The positive, everyone reaching out. What can I do to help? And these are people from LA, but then New York, across the country, and then across the world, like New Zealand, Australia, Europe,
London, Mexico. I mean, literally.
South Africa, everywhere, her community seeing, and how can we help people who have ties to LA and those who even don't. And so positive, like
it's like the most like the love, the worry, the concern, that like, how can we help? What can we do? The offering of their homes, their places. Can we get you food? And I was like, no, I'm good. But then offering, hey, what can we donate to your friends? What can we do? We set up a fund.
Like people even in Montana, we have a house, but if somebody wants to come and they have a place to stay, I mean, it's just offering that up it's crazy.
It's amazing, honestly. And
so just
then
to say, money and the donations.
Yeah, tell them how much we raised. It was
over
crazy.
50,000, and this is just quickly doing this, but people, how generous people are of sending 500, 1,000, some sending then just $5, or just who
Every
aren't even living
mattered.
in the country. And it's so it is, people do really step up and share and become a community. And I think that's what you've built, is this village and the people who do care.
It is. And
on
honestly,
the other hand,
but can I
okay,
just say about community really quick? Because there is something that when you realize, and I know we always talk about social media and there's a lot of negative, this is where you do see the most amazing side of it and the most positive side, because yes, there's always that negative Nelly, but most of it is people coming together and literally trying to support, being able to raise that kind of money in such a short period of time, and being able to immediately donate to the firefighters, to the Humane Society, to the people that really needed it. And now all these clothes to places that are really are being put to good use. And again, it is not all celebrities. It is really people with a whole family that lost everything. So that has been the best side. It has been very emotional. I'm so grateful to this community, genuinely. Like, it really has shown me like we have built something that I'm so incredibly proud of, because we all, I think, really respect, and we really respect and admire community. I think that's why we all come together.
Well, the fact that people just didn't know where to donate. So they'd send you money and trust you. So everyone was like, I trust you. They're just sending Caroline cash. Like,
I know. Someone's like, I'd send you my credit card.
That's what you've built. We're making sure, and I'm budgeting and financially taking account of everything that is coming in, making sure we've got that going out, and we're truly using it for good. And that's what I think people don't know, where to put money if you're living outside of the city, or even within. Where do you donate?
Which is why we want to build something soon, John. We want to build something so that we can help more people. And this has been an eye-opening situation. And when you realize how much you can help and how much that you have the ability to help, it is our duty to help our community and wherever we can. So we're excited about working on something this year. We will keep you guys posted on that. But there's also a negative side. There was some backlash. Somebody DM'd me and was like, boo-hoo about the fires. I was like, wait, what? There was definitely people upset about North Carolina and Hawaii, and that this was getting so much more attention. And just because it's celebrities and it's the rich, and people are just pissed and angry, which I completely understand. So I think people are feeling this backlash of, why are they getting so much attention?
Well, like North Carolina, they're still living in
tents.
Right.
They have no money. It's freezing. People are sending me videos. It is heartbreaking. You realize there's just so much going on in the world that you're just like, oh my God, like you can't take it all in. Unfortunately, we cannot help everyone. And I think what's happening in your backyard is definitely what directly affects you and what you're directly witnessing. And then you have direct access to really help. So I do know that here, it's a lot of our friends, it's a lot of our families, it's friends and our teachers, people we work with have lost everything. So yes, our attention is going to be focused to the people we know and love, which I know may seem selfish and whatever, but it was eye-opening to see how people felt. And we definitely want to shed some light on North Carolina and all that, because it is devastating to see. And if we can help, and that's why we want to help more.
Well, I think that's where you've created a community now who's everywhere, and helping them, because they trust you, you trust them, to be able to highlight some of the areas that need some help. And they've become now more like family and friends.
Yeah.
And so, it's hard though, but when it's close to home, of course you're going to take care of what's close to home.
Yeah.
And focus on that.
So I understand it. We've kind of just been going slow and steady and just trying to be really respectful because we know people have a lot of feelings. And the boo-hoo, I didn't really understand because I'm kind of like, it's funny to me that people think everyone is so rich and that like you could have every single thing burned down and that as if it's so replaceable so easily when it's like people's life work. People have saved their whole lives just to buy that house. It isn't as simple as that, but I get it, to each his own. That's just not how I see it. But it's hard to read those when you're just like, what?
Yeah, right.
I'm trying to help. So that's been hard. What else was negative?
I think people posting like links and things, which people have to understand. We run a business. We have employees. We have to pay people. Every day we don't do things, we lose money. And it's money that could be used to spend on helping others. So it's this hard balance of like, what do you do? And we stopped posting.
We did for almost a week. We really were very respectful.
And it cost us
a significant amount of money, which is fine, but it would have been nice to make that and then donate it.
Right. And so that's the balances. And you also have commitments that you have to adhere to, right? That in working with the brands, they know. It's like, okay.
I have to say the brands have been super respectful, but after a week, people start getting antsy and people do have to get back to work and brands have to pay their employees. People are canceling a conversation we were having that people are canceling their events, canceling things here in LA. So you're putting the florist out of business, the caterer out of business. There's a lot of small businesses here that if they lost their home, they sure as fuck need the business now to really run.
Keep things going. Don't
stop living. It's been very open. We've been very honest. I communicate a lot. And I've said, if this makes you uncomfortable, absolutely click through or mute me for a bit.
Yeah.
Like you have to do whatever helps your mental health.
Somebody said greed and greedy. I'm like, greedy? And it's... How is it greedy?
I literally donated everything out of my house that was brand new or anything that came in. I was like, I literally not even thinking twice.
But that's where I think people just have this negative view and they're negative people. And there's something there that they,
I want to be like, what did you do?
Right.
And it's like, we're here helping, we're here doing good. And we also have to, again, keep working and keep living. And I think that's something that we've been talking a lot about in coffee talks and stuff on Instagram that we have been saying about what happens in these natural disasters, like during COVID. Everyone thought it was over, the world was over, and we somehow came back, right? Mm-hmm. Like things normalized again and we did come back. And I feel like with this, it is another disaster, but I do believe we will come back. And I do think that, again, taking care of yourself is the number one thing. And I can imagine some of these families that you have a routine that works for you. Routine to me is medicine, as we know. They don't have those things to make them feel good, to be able to take care of everyone else. Something that I just couldn't stop thinking about these poor families, and especially the moms for whatever. Because when you have kids, and you have pets, and you do worry about everybody else and ensuring their happiness. It is something where I was like, well, the one thing you didn't lose is your community. That's what I saw. That's something I really was aware of. You didn't lose your family and the help. You did not lose your intelligence. It's something that like we can lose things and property, but like you do not lose your capabilities. You do not lose your smarts. You don't lose your heart. Like you do have the main things to always get you back on your feet. And that's always what I just wanted to emphasize and just really... It's just one of those things that I kept thinking about, that this is why I don't save things for special occasions. This is why I want to wear it all, use it all, because this is one huge, again, reminder that life is precious, life is short, things can change in a minute, in an hour, in a day, and you can freaking lose it all. So enjoy your things, enjoy your life, enjoy your people, because you really have no idea what's coming. That just to me was like so eye-opening. And I just want to really remind people that you have everything it takes to begin again, to start over, to evolve and grow. That like we are fortunate now that, you know, we do have online, you can start anything, you can do anything. You know, just making that new routine that works for you, because I know for me, routines are everything. So if it has to be just 1 minute outside or 1 minute walk around the block, just brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, it just helps you just feel a little normal and good, which again trickles down to the kids, because at the end of the day, we have to show up either way. We're not going to just give up. We still have to get up. We still have to get dressed. We still have to make it work, and we still have to make the best of it, because we have to show up for our kids and family, because again, we take care of everyone else. So you've got to take care of you, right?
Yeah. And you've got to find your happy tools. What are those things that's going to make you feel good? Whether it's confident, whether it's just in a good headspace, what are those things? And if it's just taking a shower, it's getting dressed, it's working out, it's going for a walk. What is it? Going to lunch with friends.
The gratitude.
Yeah, do
right now,
some yoga.
If you're in the hardest time, like it feels so good to be surrounded by people who are nice to you, with family, community. Don't be ashamed. Don't be shy. Ask for help. At the end of the day, we want to see you win. And it's like, and it is possible. Yeah. Like the people are out there that want to see you win. So I think this has been really eye-opening. It's not even over yet. I mean, there's still fires popping up. I feel like I have anxiety because I hear cop cars and helicopters every day.
There are more fires in garbage cans or wherever, trash bins. It's crazy to watch every day. And it's going to happen for a little while. And then we see what the long-term effects are this, like the switching wind direction, we smell the smoke, but then it's what's in the air, is how toxic is the air, and being careful there. And it's like, we're not going to get rain. We hadn't had rain for over 250 days, which is awful and we're not expected to have rain, and we're in another drought. And so what's going to happen then when things get more dust in the air? What do you do with the kids? Do you wear the masks? Do you do this? So it's all these questions that we have now of how do we protect ourselves, but then how do we help the community?
And it's also what they were saying at the town hall, which is just good for people to know. They literally were saying that our air and the people surrounding the fires is like 9/11. It is that serious. They were saying it's literally like the amount that has burned down, the amount of homes, cars, buildings, businesses. They're saying it's literally
asbestos in the buildings that were
They literally
older?
said it could take 18 months to 2 years to clean up the ash. So people can't get back to their houses or their properties. The people living in the surrounding areas of the fire, basically, it's so toxic that kids are the most susceptible, that people should not even be wearing N95s. They should be wearing those crazy
respirators.
The respirators. And basically saying everyone in LA, nobody really knows. They're like, after 9/11, 10 years later, people started developing cancer and illnesses. And they're saying that that's very well what could happen here, because we really have no idea of the effects and what's going on. I mean, I can't.
So we got to stay close to that. It's going to be a while.
It's the largest fire in history, I think, in California.
Two of the top 5.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But we are praying for everybody. We are going to be here of service, of course. Any help that we can be, we will keep being. Any source of resources that we can give, we will always do that. And I just want to remind you that, again, you didn't lose the most important things, which is your community and your heart and your intelligence. So you are, as much as you want to give up, I know you're going to get back up and dressed. I know you are. And it's just one day at a time, one step at a time, like anything else when you're starting over, whether it's losing a job or getting a divorce or getting everything when you feel at your lowest and like you can't even imagine. Just remind you, it's just one step at a time. Don't over stress yourself with the end result, just a little bit each and every day.
Right.
Right, John?
Yes.
And we love you and we appreciate you, and everyone stay safe. And we will be back next week with more. Please don't forget to like, follow, leave a positive comment, please. We've been through enough. We love you all. We'll be coming in hot again next week. Not sure that name sounds great right now. We got to go with it. We got to get back to work. And don't forget, please don't come back to LA. Please visit. Please shop from small businesses here. We don't want people to not come. It's still beautiful. It's still amazing. And we want it to thrive again. So we love you all. LA strong. Bye.